As Beautiful as Magic. Written by Lulu Lee. Read by Rashi. Growing up alone in the Deeprealms, Soleil had never given much thought to the clothes she dressed herself in. Such a sentiment was not truly accurate, though now, having spent countless days since that period of her life reflecting on it, perhaps it was more apt to say that the person she used to be found it difficult to dedicate such efforts to her attire. She did not blame herself, or anyone, for it, as it was simply a truth of her upbringing. With no one to talk to about the intricate matters of identity and presentation, Soleil had kept the curious knocking from beneath her ribs and her musings to herself, opting to model her fashion choices after her father. To dress like him was a comforting course of action amidst the days filled with loneliness, and it gave who she had been at the time the breathing room she needed to listen and understand the feelings resonating in her heart. The friends she had made since leaving that place certainly helped, providing a supportive and reassuring ear during particularly weary nights when she needed it most. Although her father had been wise to raise her in the Deeprealms to keep her out of harm's way amidst the war, Soleil had come to learn she had no reason to fear embracing who she was, thanks to the encouraging souls she now found herself frequently in the company of. While her old clothes had protected her from the elements and dangers of the Deeprealms, as well as the less than savory individuals that she had encountered during her initial foray into mercenary work, Soleil now knew that clothes could be so much more. Like magic, clothes have the potential to make one's whole world look beautiful and reflect the awaiting spirit that is eager to make itself known to others. In that way, it is fitting that Soleil's beloved Ophelia, whose excellence in the arcane arts is recognized throughout the army, would be her company on her first clothes shopping trip, since she began disclosing her identity to the allies who also gathered within the secret base they used as a permanent camp during the war. Donning her favorite outfit that her wardrobe currently has to offer, and giving herself an affirmative once-over in the mirror, Soleil makes her way to the meeting spot she and Ophelia had decided upon the day prior. As the garden by the gate comes into view, the young mercenary sees her companion, waving in the distance, as she also arrives slightly behind schedule. It is a relief to know that she had not left the other waiting thanks to the longer-than-expected time she needed to get ready. Rejoined at the hip now, as they are usually seen, and satchel of gold in one hand, Ophelia confidently takes Soleil's hand in hers, setting out together, past the wards that keep the secret base hidden from uninvited enemies, to the awaiting boutiques, with honest hearts and eager spirits.
"Come on! Let's take a peek at what that place has to offer next!"
cheers Ophelia with glee, drawing Soleil's attention to the storefront across the cobblestoned road, despite the mercenary being only halfway out the door of their previous destination.
"It's a good thing we have the entire afternoon free to ourselves,"
Soleil thinks, as they travel from one shop to the next, browsing the various garments for sale. Having recently suffered some major incapacities during the last skirmish, the army had decided a meaningful pause would serve its soldiers best, providing everyone a chance to recoup their morale before forging ahead. Grasping this rare occasion by the reins, Soleil knew this was the most ideal time to take up Ophelia on her promise that they had made together a few months ago, spoken as a hopeful dream one night around the campfire. Ophelia's enthusiasm is much appreciated, in light of the slight bit of fatigue Soleil feels. Despite her usual outgoing personality, of which she is certain Ophelia would not hesitate to agree, the experience is a touch overwhelming. From the various sights and interactions she is only now having the opportunity to navigate. While admiring the shape and style of women's clothing had become a favorite pursuit of hers in recent years, those observations provided little insight into the details she needed to keep her eyes out for when browsing to purchase garments, especially for herself. Furthermore, she now knows the time required to peruse the clothes and also try on those garments she feels drawn towards to ensure the fit is correct, takes much longer than she had initially anticipated. Truly, it brings her a sense of relief to have Ophelia accompanying her on this journey to places she is unaccustomed to, and it feels akin to a blessing to have her guidance when she needs it most. As they flit around from shop to shop, chatting about topics like sweets and makeup, and every little thing in between, Ophelia's comforting presence sets Soleil at ease. Eventually, she approaches the clothes hanging off the mannequins with more confidence than when they began, the fear that had been looming over her dispelled like the curses she so frequently hears Ophelia speak of. Reflecting upon it as they daydream together at a pair of matching dresses displayed in a storefront window, Soleil realizes that had it not been for her companion's eager outlook and idle musings, she would foresee herself abandoning this endeavor altogether, departing without a memento to remember the adventure by. The act of trying on clothes has become less intimidating too as the day goes on, owing to Ophelia's praises, compliments, and words of encouragement each time Soleil has a new ensemble to show off. Most of the praise she receives goes directly back to her companion, as she is the one deserving of it. Since the dawn of their relationship, Soleil has known about Ophelia's excellent eye for fashion, and while the brown paper bags she carries by the handles hold a few pieces she had picked out herself, a large majority of the purchases have been thanks to Ophelia's recommendations. She is especially fond of the skirt the other had insisted was made just for her, deciding that she loved it so much that she would wear it out of the store. The length and the pleats of the garment make her happy, and that is all the more reason to be thankful that Ophelia had spoken up and quelled her shyness with a reassuring smile. She does grow a touch flustered, too, as her heart skips a beat, recalling the elated cheer Ophelia had given her as she drew back the dressing-room's curtain. She's half listening now, as her companion makes clever points about how well-loved garments can serve dual purposes on and off the battlefield when coordinating outfits, as well as, at the change of seasons, they'll have to plan another trip to shop for some seasonal-appropriate clothes. The inquisitive tone of the mage's voice is what draws Soleil's attention back to the conversation, admittedly lost in a daydream concerning the clothes she envisioned herself wearing that summer.
Do you know what you will be wearing to the New Year's celebration?
Mm-hmm. The way the snowflakes cascade through the chilly air and land so delicately upon Ophelia's hair captures Soleil's attention next, forgetting to answer the question entirely. The fluffy flakes nestle in her wavy locks for a mere fleeting moment before melting and refreezing into tiny ice crystals, glimmering faintly in the beams of sun that peek through the heavy gray clouds.
Don't tell me you forgot! We're all going to ring in the New Year's under the stars in the glen just outside of base camp. You'll be there, right? I'll always be there, but I haven't given any thought to what I'll be wearing. It's like 2 weeks away.
Soleil shakes the bag in her hands, gesturing to all the clothes now in her possession.
Surely I can put together a suitable outfit using everything you've helped me buy today. Absolutely not! None of that is fitting party attire,
Ophelia asserts, unwilling to accept any other answer. Soleil has little time to assure her companion that such lengths really are unnecessary, given all the shopping they've already done, before Ophelia grabs her wrist and drags her along to a fancy-looking store on the corner. Despite the mounting confidence she has accumulated throughout the day, a surge of unfamiliarity and nervousness courses through her body as she steps over the threshold, vision swimming before the sea of fabrics and colors and gowns that greet her. Always at her side, Ophelia stands beside her and gives Soleil's arm a reassuring squeeze.
Small steps. Does a particular color have your eye?
It takes a long moment of scanning over the fabrics hanging from every nook and cranny of the boutique before Soleil finds a shade and texture that she could see herself wearing. Tucked off to the side, among some gowns that flood the entire space, her eyes settle upon a skirt of pink tulle with golden stars woven throughout its numerous layers. Cautiously, She reaches a hand out to touch it, enjoying how the fabric feels beneath her fingers, and the slight shimmer it has as she swings it back and forth upon its hanger.
"It matches your hair color delightfully,"
remarks Ophelia, following close behind to see what Soleil has found. That makes Soleil's heart flutter, unable to stop herself from ruminating on the encouraging tone of Ophelia's voice from that moment, as they make their way around the store in search of a matching blouse, as well as during their trek back to the secret base. Such thoughts stay with Soleil, as Ophelia helps her organize her trunk of clothes upon their return, finally ready to part with some of the garments she will no longer need. With fond thoughts of Ophelia racing through her head as they take special care in folding every article of clothing, Soleil cannot help but feel eternally grateful for her presence. Finally, as she prepares for lights out that evening, Soleil breathes a sigh of relief, both for the more relaxed pace of her heart and the comfort that at least she owned clothes that reflected her soul residing within. As the chill of the winter's evening air settled in around the secret base, so too do its residents come to life, with enough merriment to keep them comfortably toasty through the long night. Donning a warm pair of knitted tights beneath her skirt and a wool jacket over top of her blouse, Soleil continues preparing for the night-long celebration in her quarters, hair done in a half-updo, similar to how she has observed some of her allies style their hair. Now she fusses with the ribbons of the skirt that secure the garment at her waist, unsure of how best to tie them in a way that she is happy with. For the umpteenth time, she pulls the lopsided bow apart, frowning in dissatisfaction with its appearance that reflects in the mirror. A knock, and a familiar voice at the door. Ophelia, who had finished her own preparations in less time, rescues Soleil from her spiraling frustration. With a relieved sigh, Soleil invites her in.
"What's wrong?"
the mage inquires, joining Soleil before the mirror. She recognizes her companion's look as the same expression of defeat that she occasionally catches her wearing on the battlefield.
"Something not fitting properly? It's these silly ribbons. I can't decide how to style them. Every way looks frumpy, no matter what I try. Don't stress yourself out over a few ribbons. Here."
Clever as always, and working her magic, Ophelia takes the ribbons between her nimble fingers, suggesting the ends be tied off to the side as she brings the fabric through the loop and completes the knot. At last, Soleil is pleased with its appearance and thanks her closest companion with a firm hug.
"Come on now, don't mess up my hair. I spent ages on it and don't want it to get frizzy."
The pair eventually separate, a fit of laughter bouncing around the room. Soleil kindly smooths out the staticky locks of Ophelia's hair as an apology.
"It's okay. Now, come on, let's get going before we miss out on all the fun."
As Ophelia leads her out of the room by the hand, Soleil turns to take one last look in the mirror. The smile on her face is telling, as is the way her eyes shine with vibrancy. On this eve, she feels good about herself, even more so that she has the other by her side. She couldn't dream of a better way to ring in the new year. The festivities, as they learn, are a welcome sight for war-weary souls. Arm in arm, they meander around for several hours, first partaking in the sweet and savory food and warm beverages the mess hall has to offer, before amusing themselves with the light-hearted games a few of their allies have put together. Every corner of the secret base twinkles with a jovial merriment, unlike either the mercenary or mage have ever experienced, making it seem as though the cheer of the long winter's night could continue in perpetuity. Soleil would not mind if such were the case. As much as she loved the sword, doling out compliments had also always been her favorite, especially now that the world could see her for her true self. Eventually, an excited anticipation rolls over the camp in waves. Whispers of fireworks passed around from group to group as the news reaches all those amusing themselves with the celebrations. The midnight hour draws steadily closer, according to the shopkeeper's pocket watch, and out from the darkness, Soleil latches herself onto Ophelia's arm, nearly spooking the other, who had been watching the moon. Alongside the rest of their allies, the pair make their way out to the ridge overlooking the narrow valley where the fireworks will be ignited. Following a few minutes of indecision over the best place to watch the spectacle from, Soleil and Ophelia finally agree on an outcropping of rocks on the mountainside, making themselves comfortable and huddling together for warmth in the chilly night air as they wait for the magic to begin.
Warm enough?
She asks Ophelia, noticing the other shiver as a brisk wind causes the bare branches of the nearby tree to clatter together. Despite her insistence that she is plenty warm, the quiet chattering of her teeth tells a different story, prompting Soleil to shrug one arm out from her coat and drape it over Ophelia's shoulders, hopeful that she would not mind the invasion of her personal space in this situation.
Better?
Ophelia nods, relaxing beneath the warm embrace of the garment.
It is a really nice coat. Where did you get it? Ah, well...
Soleil starts, shifting through her emotions bubbling to the surface.
I've had this old thing for a while. I couldn't bring myself to donate it like the other clothes. It doesn't make me seem to... No, Soleil, of course not.
Ophelia smiles reassuringly, scooting closer to her companion, so that she can fit more of the coat around herself.
It's a nice coat. It's you. Men's or women's clothing beside. What matters the most is that it makes you happy, and that you feel at home in it. I do. Feel at home, I mean, in all of this.
She gestures down her torso, to the skirt, blouse, and jacket in tandem.
I've never felt more myself, and I owe part of this elation to your help. Hush! I care for you beyond measure, and it was fun spending that time together. It's always been fun spending time with you, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. You mean it? Of course. Clothes shopping, tea parties, gossiping, sparring. Loved ones are there when you need them, no matter the kind of companionship that you need at the moment. Well then, I couldn't be happier than having this chance to ring in the new year with you. As me,
Soleil admits, exuding that confidence Ophelia has come to be so familiar with. To see her companion share such glee makes the mage giggle, pleased to know that Soleil has found the comfort she needed to traverse the great expanse of the world. Somewhere in the distance, the voice of an ally to count down from 60, signaling to those perched on the ridge that the final minutes of the year is upon them. Ophelia and Soleil are quick to join in on the excitement, shouting out the seconds, until at last they reach 1, and a burst of light and a crack of sound emerges from the darkness, painting the sky in a rainbow of colors.
This must be what it feels like to wield magic,
Soleil tells herself as she watches each and every firework dance before her eyes, thinking how wonderful it must be to flourish such brilliant vibrancy at will. For a moment, she is almost envious of Ophelia's skills in the art, having the capacity to summon that sort of excitement to brighten up someone's day at will. Until...
Happy New Year, Soleil! May this year sparkle with all the charismatic joy you radiate from the depths of your colorful soul.
That's right, Soleil remembers, offering her companion an equally warm greeting in return, as well as a kiss on the cheek.
I have all the magic I need right here, and I'll find my own way to share it with the world.